Hey everyone, how are we doing? And welcome to a very special video where I am putting together my very own living room gaming PC with this, the NZXT H1. And this is a case that you guys have probably seen around about on the YouTube platform. It is very popular at the moment. And the main reason is because it looks absolutely incredible. You get it in a couple of colors, but this is like the gunmetal steely gray sort of edition. And the thing that's really smart about it is that you can actually build up inside the case with things that come included. So you don't need a power supply, you don't need a CPU cooler, it's all actually built into the chassis. The CPU that we're using is an AMD Ryzen 9 3900X, and this is probably the most popular CPU, or at least so I see in all of the comment sections at the moment, because it's very well priced. It is 12 cores, yes, it is 12 cores, clocked very highly as well, and if you do want to do some serious workloads, it can handle it, but in this case, it's going to tick along nicely with 4K gaming in the most demanding titles, and it should do this very well. We're using some special edition gold Trident Z Royal RAM for this rig, mainly because this is actually the fastest kit that I personally have in the studio. It is 3600 megahertz. It looks absolutely incredible though. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see inside our case, but regardless, it is some beautiful and very fast RAM. In terms of the motherboard that they're going to be sitting on, you might be a little bit confused while we're using an X470 motherboard here. This one is the ROG Strix X470-i, and the simple answer is because it doesn't matter too much what I'm trying to use. Obviously X570 is newer, it's got more features, mainly PCI Gen 4, but as we're not using a super fast Gen 4 SSD for this, it doesn't really make any difference. The only thing you do need to be careful of and watch out for is to make sure you get one of these that's actually up to date in terms of its BIOS. In terms of the storage though, we simply have one drive. It is 2 terabytes, it's an 860 EVO from Samsung, it's SATA, but again, the reason for this is because it's just going to be doing gaming. It doesn't really matter. I'm not that fussed about saving myself 5-10 seconds game loads. To be honest, I can just go and make a cup of tea. I'm English, that's what we do. And I almost completely forgot the most exciting bit of the entire rig. This is NVIDIA's RTX 2080 Super. It is the graphics card. It's what's going to drive all of these frames. There's no good getting yourself something that's big, bulky and huge, takes up 3 slots, because it's not going to fit in this. You've got to make sure that you're buying your GPU around the case. 2080 Super isn't obviously quite as quick as the 2080 Ti. If you want more frame rate, you should go for that. But this is a much more, better value proposition, shall we say. And even then, it's still very, very expensive. But if you do want to do 4K gaming, you're going to need something with a bit of grunt. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Corsair and the Dark Core RGB Pro. This RGB gaming mouse has it all. Incredible precision thanks to the 18,000 DPI PixArt sensor, wireless latency under 1 millisecond thanks to Corsair's Slipstream technology, and a comfort level that will let you play all day and night. Customize it your way with 8 programmable buttons and 2 side grips, charged with USB Type-C, and then set up profiles with Corsair's Epic IQ software. Check it out with the links down below. So then, let's crack on and actually get this thing put together. And I was told when I originally saw this case during pre-production times that this was going to be ridiculously easy to build in and should take no time at all. But I haven't even seen it in this color yet. So, is it as pretty as I remember? I've honestly been waiting for this package for over a year and I am so excited that it is here. Oh my word, this looks good. Oh my God, I didn't even realize it was white. Look at this. Look at this. This is the one. It's so small as well. Okay, that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty cool. So it's quite heavy because there's quite a lot of stuff in this case already. On the front, we do have USB Type-C as well as a normal USB-A, but again, for a living room PC, you're not really gonna need any more than this, and it should be mostly, anyway, completely toolless. It should be mostly completely toolless. Let's actually open this up though and see how it all works. Okay, the panels just pull off actually. As I said earlier, there's quite a lot of stuff already in here. You've got your liquid cooler, you've got your power supply, you've got your cables, and you've got your riser card. There are plenty of little things to tell you what to do. Remove screws pointed by arrows and lift to open. Check for cable and tube clearance when closing. Do not force shut. You heard the case, listen to it. Inside our accessories box, we get power cable, we get installation brackets and things for our liquid cooler, and then the usual bag of things like headphone adapters and then just some general cable ties, screws, all of that jazz. I think it's just these ones here with the cleverly marked arrows that I need to take out. So that folds out, look. So now you get a better idea of how the whole system works. So this just folded out, fairly self-explanatory. You then just put the motherboard directly on this tray, and then you attach the liquid cooler to it, fold down the radiator and fan, and then that should really be pretty much all you need to do. You just need to put a couple of cables in, drop the graphics card in, and that's it. Quite simple. Let's do the old trick of putting the motherboard directly onto the box. Makes it a lot easier to build on. Then we just need to grab our CPU, lift up the little lever. It's very easy in Ryzen. You just got to be careful with the CPU itself rather than on Intel where you have to be quite careful with the socket. Line up the arrow with the arrow on the board, just like this, look. And then you drop that down. And again, no force. That just goes in. Drop that. Easy as pie. You can add a PCIe SSD here, of course, if you want as well. But in the meantime, that looks quite cool. It's like quite blingy, isn't it, with that gold? I'm not sure if everyone's going to like that, but it does come in silver. So we will need that I/O shield that we saw earlier. Again, I'm not quite sure about the instructions, NZXT. You could definitely make that a little bit clearer because it doesn't say anything about the I/O shield either. And I have a feeling that if you've not built PCs before, this might be the sort of thing you would miss because you might not even see it in that motherboard box. And if the manual doesn't tell you to put it in, well, you're probably not going to put it in. Do bear in mind as well that you are going to need to change either the back plate on the motherboard, adding one on so that the cooler can actually rest aboard the CPU socket, or in our case, we need to change the retention arm on the pump head itself so that it can hook over to the brackets that we actually have on the stock AMD motherboard. Just like this, line it up with the holes. There's only 4, and I believe that this should twist off, does it, or pull off? There you go, see? Muscles. Been eating the spinach. So you just whack the new retention arm in place. Again, completely toolless. That's in, and then this just goes on top. Pre-applied thermal paste as well, so you shouldn't need to worry about anything. Just line everything up, and it should just go into place. Once you've plopped that on there, it will look something like this, where you've got your board inside. There's no point closing it up just yet, because we do of course need to hook all of the other cables and things up, but this will just fold down nicely and neatly once we're done. The PCIe riser cable is this side, and you can see it's very conveniently placed. So all we need to do with this is remove the cover, because our graphics card goes in over the other side, but we'll do that in a second. You can see that will sit just like that, and it will stand up. We have things like our power supply cables. We need that SATA cable for our SSD to install, and then all of the front panel stuff. So we need to plug this in and go from there. This is where things get a little bit fiddly. We have our front panel connections, as well as our USB and then USB-C. Doesn't look like there's actually a USB-C header on this motherboard, which is a shame. So you'd either need to get a converter, or what I'll do, which is just not use it. How sad. See, should factor these things in before we make a build, because that is a waste of a port now. That is the CPU fan header connected, as well as the pump, and you should have something that looks a little bit like this at this stage. You'll be ready to close this up and put in the graphics card if you're just using PCIe storage. But as we have a SATA drive, we need to grab our SATA drive. This again is completely toolless, but we will need the cables, so here they are. You'll see that there are some toolless drive bays where you just need to literally put your SSD in like that, job done, and then hook it up to the power connections and our SATA data. Let's get the top down. That folded down very easily actually. How long has this taken? Not very long at all, I can tell you. It's probably been about an hour, 10 minutes. Something like that. Get our graphics card, and this is why I was saying to you earlier that you need to make sure you have a 2-slot card, because otherwise it's just not really going to fit. There you go, plops into place nice and easily. Now it's just a case of putting those panels back on that we had earlier. Then I believe we want to put this lovely white bit of the chassis on next. So there we go. Slot that back into place. Pops in like that. So when you power this thing on, there's not really anything pretty here, to be honest, that you're going to see other than the graphics card. And I think that's why there's tempered glass there. But I think to save money, they probably could have had this bit solid and just glass there. But I don't know, maybe that would have looked a little bit weird. Let me know down in the comment section below. And when you're actually plugging in all of your cables, you will plug them in underneath. And then you've got this little bit of a cable tidy here. So you do like a right angle bend with everything. so that when you put it down on the desk, you shouldn't see any cables at all. Should be all nice and flush. Let's plug this thing in then and actually see if it works. So then, here we go. Moment of truth. I promise I have not cheated and pressed this button. If it works, we will do the peel. If not, it's back to the drawing board. Fail. Right, so this is annoying. What have I done wrong? I've got too excited. Normally there's just a power button, isn't there, on the actual power supply itself, but it doesn't look like there's a switch to turn on, which confuses me a little bit because the pass-through is of course already plugged in. So maybe there is a switch to turn on. I told you, didn't I? I bloody told you. There is a switch here that is positioned to off. So you have to turn that on. And let's try that again. I say that I am really glad that that's all it was, because otherwise I would have been a bit puzzled and confused. Hopefully we have better luck on the second attempt. They say third time's the charm, but I'd much rather it works first or second time. We have noise. We have noise, but do we have display? That's the question. We have RTX logo lighting up here, look. Looks pretty good. It's always a little bit loud on the first boot, with Ryzen anyway. Sometimes it is with Intel boards, but normally it's just a Ryzen thing and it freaks you out. This is not looking good. Why is it today? Things are just not going my way. We have... Hey! I thought that had failed. I thought that had failed. But no, it looks like we're all right. It really was freaking out. I was swearing off camera. I was getting very upset. But here we go. So, new CPU installed. Please enter the setup. Ah, there we go. We have now successfully booted into Windows. If I have a look in Task Manager, just to check that everything is showing up. So there we go, 16 gigabytes of memory. It is of course running at lower speeds at the moment because we haven't enabled XMP, but we are going to need to do that. GPU 2080 Super, and then our processor Ryzen 9 12-core 3900X. Let's get some games running on this thing. So this is Minecraft running on our brand new PC. As soon as we actually enable RTX, this is where things get really exciting. So immediately our frame rate does dip quite a lot, but we're still getting around about 50 frames a second here, 49 frames a second. So generally speaking, I don't think anyone's gonna have any real problems with this. The thing that really annoys me about Minecraft RTX at the moment is that the default render distance is turned down to 8 chunks, which is far too low, and it means you get this horrible fog in the distance, but we've raised it up here and we've only lost another 5 frames a second or so. Next up we have Far Cry 5, and this is arguably, I think, my favorite game when it comes to HDR performance, as this thing looks incredible. Just so you get an idea of the frame rate, I currently have HDR off so I can actually record gameplay for you, and you can see that at 3440 by 1440 we're getting around about 100 frames a second, ever so slightly lower. Here we go then, Apex Legends. I have donned the headset. I am taking this incredibly seriously, but we're getting at around about 100 frames a second at the moment. Again, this is 3440 by 1440, but I reckon as soon as we actually get a little bit lower, yeah, it will go up. So we're now getting around about 110, 120 frames a second. Let's actually see if we can get some kills though, shall we? And the answer is no, because I am awful with the Evo 8 shotgun. Honestly, I can't play with it. I don't know why, it's just not for me. But what you need to know really is that Apex Legends, you're gonna get around about 120 frames a second on average with this particular PC setup. And obviously, if you're playing at a lower resolution than 3440 by 1440, you're probably gonna be maxing out 144 Hz monitor. And if you're playing at 4K, then getting around about 60 frames a second shouldn't actually be too difficult, but obviously bear in mind there will be a bit of variance. And so there you go then. This is the NZXT H1, my new living room PC. It's been awesome to put together, and as you can see, it is a really capable little machine. If you do want to learn a little bit more about any of the parts featured in this video, as well as current pricing, you can find the full links to everything down in the description below. Don't forget while you're down there to smash that like button, get yourself subscribed, and of course, check out Corsair's epic new Dark Core RGB Pro. If you're after a do-it-all wireless gaming mouse, then look no further. With 9 zones of RGB lighting, a super responsive PixArt sensor, and sub 1 millisecond slipstream wireless technology, there's never been a better tool for your gaming desires. Customize it your way with 8 programmable buttons and 2 side grips, and play for up to 50 hours on a single charge. It's even available in an SE flavour, packing Qi wireless charging. Check it out with the links down below. Do of course get subscribed for more PC builds. I'll leave some more in the end screen if you're interested, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you like this PC? Would you do things a little bit differently? Is the case too expensive? Did it do something that you're not a fan of? Or do you just love the overall aesthetic and performance? Be interested to hear from you, but thanks so much for checking it out. I'll see you in the next one.